Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome contestant number 4. Contestant number 4, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Are you able to see the timer?
Sure can.
Donnell King, lessons from my son. Lessons from my son, Donnell King.
If you had been with me that day on stage at Thompson Bowling Arena, getting ready to give the commencement speech, you would have been able to look out and see a sea of black gowns. You would have had the taste of Buddy's barbecue maybe lingering on your tongue as you heard the babble of happy families there to celebrate their loved one receiving a college degree. You might have looked out there in that sea of black and seen an empty chair covered with a white drape and a single red rose. And if at that moment you had glanced over at me, you would have seen me studying that chair, lost in thought, because that chair was there in honor of my late son, who was receiving a posthumous degree that night. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and anyone who's ever lost a child, I would like to step out of my role as a professor and into my role as a student to share with you just a few of the lessons that I learned from one of my greatest teachers. His name was Barry Jonathan King, but when he was a child, we called him John. I remember when he was about 5 years old. He was a chunky kid, and so for Halloween one year, we dressed him up as a pumpkin. Yeah, I know. But it was really cute, and as we went door to door, people would say, "Oh, what a sweet pumpkin, what a sweet pumpkin." And he was hearing all this, of course. When we went to the last door, the lady said, "What a sweet pumpkin. What's your name, son?" And he looked up and said, "My name is John Sweet Pumpkin King." He knew. Lesson number 1, when you want to connect with people, listen to them and respond. A couple of years later, I was pastoring a church. We took the youth group on a trip to Cumberland Mountain State Park. Went there for a day of playing and picnicking and all that sort of thing. And John loved the swings. He spent the afternoon on the swings. In fact, when it came time to leave, I got everybody else in the van and I shouted, "John, time to go, come on." And he just looked at me and kept swinging. Barry Jonathan King, it is time to go. And he just gave me the stink eye and kept swinging. I thought, I'm going to have to drag this kid into the van. So I decided to move the van closer. The thing is, at Cumberland Mountain State Park, to do that, I needed to drive around a circular parking lot to get closer. He didn't know that's what I was doing. He just knew he saw the van pulling away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him launch out of that swing and come running across the parking lot, chugging as fast as his little legs would take him, shouting, "Don't leave me, Daddy. Don't leave me." It broke my heart. And as I pulled the van up and flung the door open, he leaped in. And I said, "Son, I would never abandon you. I was just circling around to get closer." The change in his face was like the sun coming out from behind a cloud. Lesson number 2, when you feel like you've been abandoned, it's not necessarily the case. There were lots and lots of lessons, more for him, more for me. Life got hard for John. His mother and I divorced, something he didn't understand. Heck, I don't understand it still. He developed brittle diabetes and kidney disease. He did a lot of the stupid stuff we all do as teenagers, but for him, it could literally have been fatal. And so one day I pulled him aside and I had a talk with him. It went something like this: "Jonathan, there are 3 kinds of people in the world. There are people who learn the easy way. There are people who learn the hard way. And there are people who don't freaking learn. You've already demonstrated you're not the first kind. It remains to be seen which of the other 2 you are." bonus lesson. Learn somehow, but learn. I'm pleased to say that he did learn, although in a lot of ways it was too late. He turned his life around. He went to college. He was pursuing a degree. He was getting his health under check, was on a transplant list. But then he wound up at the hospital 4 years ago with the flu. We were all sick that week. I didn't go see him because we were sick. One morning early, about 7 o'clock, the phone rang. On the caller ID, I could see it was him. By that time, he was going by Barry. I let Barry's phone call go to voicemail. A few minutes later, it rang again. I answered the phone. Barry, what are you doing calling so early? We're sick too. But it wasn't Barry. It was a nurse. Mr. King, I'm afraid I have some bad news. My John, sweet pumpkin, had left me behind. You know, people always say nice things at funerals. But what struck me at his memorial service was the specificity of the stories that people told me about the difference he made in their life. There was the young lady who said he was her first boyfriend. Her parents wouldn't let her date until they talked to him, and his character impressed them so much that they relented. There was the homeless guy that he snuck into his mama's basement so she wouldn't find out. Fed that guy and gave him a place to sleep. The friend that he got a job at Taco Bell where he worked that he said changed his life. Lesson number 3, live in such a way that you make an impact on other people's lives. In fact, here's your final exam. When you leave this event, I want you to pick up the phone and call somebody to tell them about the impact they have made on you. I didn't get that chance. And so when I graduate from this life, son, I hope you will circle back around for me. Madam Contest Chair.